Venezuelan interim president and opposition leader Juan Guaido said during an interview with media outlet Bloomberg that the United States could basically eliminate sanctions against the Maduro regime in case they decide to return to the Mexican dialogue table. So on this point, it is quite important to explain that the Venezuelan regime, the left-wing dictatorship of Nicolás Maduro, and the Venezuelan opposition commanded by interim President Juan Guaido have been negotiating different approaches to a democratic path in order to change the political crisis of Venezuela. They have been into these discussions, into these negotiations in Mexico until the regime decided to cancel these negotiations, given the fact that their agent, Alex Saab, got arrested just as we reported here on Newsweek a couple of weeks ago. So we can't lie to ourselves. If Juan Guaido is basically proposing this type of approach, if he is proposing that the US government could eliminate these economic sanctions that started during the administration of Donald Trump against the Maduro regime, if the opposition offered this possibility, this is only because it is what the United States wants. It is what the Biden administration wants, because at the end of the day, we are not fools. Juan Guaido doesn't control the US Treasury Department. Juan Guaido doesn't control the White House. Juan Guaido is not exactly the president of the United States of America. So if he is proposing this option, this only means that this is exactly what the Biden administration wants. And of course, this is an insane proposal. It is an insane proposal because there has been a lot of negotiations between the Venezuelan regime and the Venezuelan opposition over the last few years. There has been plenty of negotiating tables. There has been plenty of negotiations, and this has only worked to give more time and more power to the socialist regime of Nicolás Maduro. This is an undeniable fact. I mean, this is not exactly a conspiracy theory. This is something that you could actually find on any media outlet around the world, including, of course, the United States. You can check the most famous media outlets, and they have been reporting about this situation over the last few years. So, on the first hand, the fact that the Venezuelan regime and the Venezuelan opposition are in a negotiating table, this only means that the regime is currently operating in the scenario they want, because we're talking about the scenario they can control. They can control the outcome of this particular scenario. So the fact that Juan Guaido told Bloomberg that the US could basically start to eliminate some of the economic sanctions if the regime decides to go back to the negotiating table, I mean, this is basically providing a pretty shiny trophy to the Venezuelan regime. It is exactly like that. It is like if the US somehow tells Maduro that they could eliminate the sanctions if Maduro basically provide the real numbers of the COVID cases in Venezuela, something quite irrelevant. So the saddest thing about this particular situation is the undeniable fact that the Venezuelan regime is winning. The Venezuelan regime is winning. They are winning because their presence in the presidency, their stability is basically more powerful than ever. Is more powerful than ever, and what Juan Guaido is proposing is essentially like showing a white flag. It's showing the white flag to the Venezuelan regime. So we're going to see how this evolves. We're going to see basically if Juan Guaido tells the other way around, if he basically says that this is nothing more than a lie, that this is not going to happen. And of course, we're going to see what the Biden administration says, because I'm going to repeat this once again. If Juan Guaido is proposing this option, is because this is exactly what the Biden administration wants. Juan Guaido doesn't control the US Treasury Department, and he doesn't control the White House. So we're going to be here on Newsweek reporting and informing of everything that takes place, not only in Latin America, but especially on this particular issue. Reporting from Medellin, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.